I am Natha Gomonwatin, live from Thai PBS studio in Bangkok, and Kun Thep Chayong is joining me online from home. สวัสดีค่ะคุณเทพชัย
สวัสดีครับคุณนัทธา Good evening everyone คุณนัทธา yesterday people across the country celebrated the easing of the shutdown restrictions, right? Couldn't remember all these scenes that we saw, but today they were greeted with a not so good piece of news. The new coronavirus infections jump back to a double-digit figure again.
Yes, today new cases are 18 of the number of new infection cases. But those are people who are migrant labor in state quarantine in Sadao province, in Ampere Sadao in Songkhla province, Kun Thep Chai. So perhaps overall Thailand people can feel a bit at ease in terms of the new infection cases are found in quarantine area, not in general area of Thailand.
And this was a result of the so-called active case finding, right, by medical authorities who tried to enlarge the testing so that they will have more samples and to make sure that they are targeting the right groups of people who are more vulnerable to the virus.
And with the number of new cases, 18 number of new cases, no fatality today, and total recover is quite striking. Total recover case is 2,700. About 193 patients are still being treated in hospital because of infection with COVID-19. So overall situation, it seems under control to a certain level, but of course we still have to be very cautious in state quarantine area, Kun Thep Chai.
Yes, because now the focus is on a group of 40 people under the state quarantine in Sadao district of in Songkhla, in Yala provinces, and these people were under the scrutiny because in the first round of testing they were found to be positive for the coronavirus, Kunatha, but the second round turned out to be negative. So the third opinion certainly needs to be heard to make sure that these people are really free from the virus.
Yes, that's right. According to Kun Thep Chai, it's conflicting results between the first round and the second round. So right now, all the 40 people who have been reported as having positive of coronavirus cases are now have to be tested again in Bangkok by Disease Control Department. And this issue, Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul has said that he has to opt for third result, in which the new specimen has to be taken from those 40 cases for third round of checking whether they have positive infection of the coronavirus.
And Dr. Thavisin Visunuyotin, the spokesman of the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, said the results of the test will be known within the next few days. So let's keep our fingers crossed and let's pray that these people will be free from the virus. Let's stick to the second round of testing, and, showing that they are negative for the coronavirus.
And again, Dr. Thavisin said we cannot be too relaxed because of the outcome of the new infection, and we have to still be quite cautious and take a look in Singapore, Indonesia and Malaysia, because these are our neighboring countries and have some issue with imported cases as well. So that's what we still have to be cautious about the new infection in Thailand.
Nagunata, but in general, life for Bangkokians and people in other provinces has returned to a semblance of normality after the easing of the shutdown restrictions took effect yesterday. People went out for haircut, for hair wash, and tennis and badminton courts were busy with players who had been denied their favorite sports for the past 1 month. So yesterday was just like any Sunday that we have known, Kunata.
Yes, the past 1 month must have been very, very difficult situation because mostly people has to comply with stay-at-home order. So yesterday was the first day of the easing of all restriction, even though it's not totally back to normal, Kuntepchai, but we can see how people are participating in different activities as they can do as much as they can. And this is what happened in Suan Lumpini or Lumpini Park, public park in central of Bangkok.
We certainly can take comfort from the fact that most people that we have come across are wearing face masks. As you can see in the pictures just now, that people jogging at Lumpini Park, all of them were seen wearing face masks. So the plea by medical authorities for people to practice social distancing and wearing face masks and hand cleaning has been responded quite well by the members of the public in general. But of course, what was disturbing yesterday were the chaotic scenes at several convenience stores and supermarkets. Kunnatha, you must have seen pictures of people rushing to buy alcohol beverages, because yesterday was the first day that the ban on alcohol sales in most provinces, including Bangkok, was lifted. And so pictures and videos of people scrambling to have their hands on beer boxes at supermarkets and convenience stores went viral, sparking widespread criticisms and concerns among medical authorities. But alcohol sales in many provinces, are still banned, with the exception of Bangkok and a few other provinces.
Yes. Alcohol sales in Nakhon Pathom and Rayong are still banned until 15th of May, Kuntepchai. In Chanthaburi, Pathum Thani, Phetchaburi, Phitsanulok, Sakeo and Songkhla, the sales of alcohol will only be allowed about the end of this month. But yesterday it was the scene that we could see how people rushed to many supermarkets sharply at about 11 o'clock because they want to buy alcohol sales. It's the time that alcohol is available to be sold in Thailand from 11 a.m. And there is a time slot. That's why we could see how many shopkeepers would like to get alcohol beverages as much as they can, Kuntepchai.
Yeah, and in the aftermath of these chaotic scenes, officials from the anti-COVID center today went around checking various convenience stores and supermarkets to make sure that the proprietors and the employees there help enforce the social distancing rules and to try to impose some order for the customers who certainly still will be flocking to buy alcohol beverages. When the explanation from the operators of some of these convenience stores is that they try their best, to put some semblance of order in the buying process for the customer, but they didn't expect people to turn out in such large numbers. So they admitted that they were not prepared for that kind of chaos. So that's why we saw this chaos in many of these places. People stockpiling, rushing or scrambling against each other, to have their hands on the nearest boxes of beers and other alcohol drinks.
This issue is a case of concern for police officer and Royal Thai Armed Forces. Defense Forces Chief Pornpipat Benyasi, who heads the Royal Thai Armed Forces Security Emergency Response Center, he also said that alcohol sales have now been temporarily banned in many provinces still and allowed to resume in many provinces. But still there are certain rules that have to be complied, and provinces have to maintain even stricter patrols to ensure public compliance. An inspection will have to be carried out within 28 days from now. And those who found guilty of violating the ban on drinking in public places face up to 2 years in jail and fines for up to 40,000 baht คุณเทพชัย so it means that even
Yeah.
though the sale of alcohol can be allowed in many supermarkets but they cannot eat in any restaurant it's still banned to eat alcohol to drink alcohol in restaurants.
Yes, you can buy them and take them home, but not to take a sip or have a drink at any places in public. So, but we could have never imagined that alcohol beverages could have become such a big issue. But besides this chaos at supermarkets and convenience stores yesterday, there was also a big rush out of the city, Bangkok, over the weekend, as we can see long lines of roads, waiting in queuing to go out of the city. And certainly this came as a big disappointment for authorities who had expected people to stay home during the long weekend. And the southern province of Phuket also became a center of attention after thousands of people joined in a rush to leave the cities, which had been under a lockdown for over a month. And as we all know that Phuket is now known as a hotspot of the pandemic, and the weekend exodus, caused concerns among people in the neighboring provinces. However, officials of the Interior Ministry insisted that these people who were leaving Phuket over the weekend had been screened for coronavirus. So that means that they were not infected, they were safe, and that's why they were allowed to leave the island for their hometown in neighboring provinces.
Surely it must be big headache for Center of COVID-19 and all the officials around the country. And what has happened today will show result in next week or 14 days or so, คุณเทพชัย. So if things have gone to worse situation, probably they have to reverse and take stricter measure again all over the country in order to fight and curb the spread of the coronavirus.
Now, we have been told by medical experts that the second wave of the coronavirus is something not something that cannot be avoided because of the nature of the disease. But of course, it also depends a lot on how we all in this society behave. If we relax and we become too complacent, then the chance of the second wave becoming serious, is always there. So the common sense measures of hand washing, keeping social distance have to be strictly observed. There is no escape from that.
Yes, but what we have seen yesterday and today is very nature human beings that people just want to socialize and get back to normality as we know it before COVID-19. So it's a tough challenge ahead for all of us in Thailand and around the world as well. And talking about easing of restrictions in many countries right now, in Australia, the government is trying to consider steps to be taken in order to ease restrictions because the number of new cases in Australia appear to be under certain level of controllable situation. And right now we have Ambassador of Australia, Thai Ambassador in Australia joining us about the situation in Australia and how to take care of Thai people over there. Help some Thais who want to return to Thailand. And now let's talk to Thai Ambassador to Australia, Ambassador Busadee Santipitaks. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
สวัสดีค่ะ and a very good evening to you คุณณฐา and คุณเทพชัย and thank you very much for having me on your program.
Thank you very much for joining us. How the situation on your side? How are you? First of all, how are you doing in Australia?
Well, thank you very much. I'm very well and keeping safe and healthy as everyone else is. Well, as you know, I've been here a little over 2 months. And of course, the situation of COVID-19, it's a challenge for countries worldwide to deal with this challenge. both in terms of the emergency health response as well as the economic response to the situation.
I understand that Australia has also been under lockdown, right? So what kind of lockdown has it been like in Australia so far?
Well, the situation, of course, when it started, I think worldwide we saw rapid rates of infection. Similarly, I think in Australia, the federal government, together with the states and territories, have responded through a series of measures, effective measures, particularly in containing the spread of COVID-19. Of course, they had a series of measures of lockdowns, particularly at the through mechanisms of through an interagency coordination mechanism, which is called the Australian Health Protection Committee, and this is comprising health experts together with the cabinet ministers, relevant high-level ranking officers in dealing with this particular situation. They were also able to pass certain decrees, laws, to enable the law enforcement aspect of dealing with the situation. And of course, in containing the virus, of course, since we do not have the vaccines as yet, we still have to contain the spread through various measures, travel restrictions being one of the priorities for Australia, particularly interstate travel, traveling between territories, limiting movement as much as possible, going down as to, in terms of, particularly in ACT, the Australian Capital Territory, limiting to work from home methods, decreasing mobility, whether to go outside of your homes, of your accommodation places, only for essential services, meaning to purchase food, to purchase medicine, to see the doctor. In terms of international travel, we have been seeing a complete sort of ban against foreign travel. And this is particularly since around the 20th of March, there has been ban against incoming foreign travelers. Those who can travel to Australia would be Australian nationals, citizens, and of course, foreign travelers can go outside of Australia, but for those inbound would be restricted to very minimum categories of those who can come in.
Ambassador, and what about Thai who live in Australia? How many of them have told you that they like to return to home country like Thailand, and how have you managed to help them?
In Thailand and Australia, as I mentioned about the bans on air travel, so there is limited or very few commercial flights traveling between Australia and Thailand. The direct flights, particularly Thai Airways or Qantas, which have been flying from different cities in Australia to Thailand, a significant more than 10 flights per week were cancelled or reduced. The last Thai Airways flight and the Qantas flight, which was seen to be the last flight in March, was flown on the 26th and 27th of March. At that time, there was still a backlog of travelers, especially Thais who had booked on various flights wanting to return home, but because of various measures also on our part for incoming travelers, where they have to find documentation, fit-to-fly documents or certificate documents from the embassies to certify their traveling to Thailand. This also created some problems for remaining Thais in Australia. What the embassy had started to do together with a team Thailand based in Canberra and the Royal Thai Consulate in Sydney, we had worked together in making recommendations to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and in discussion with Thai Airways to work with the COVID Situation Center in Bangkok to authorize a special commercial chartered flight for Thais who wish to return to Thailand. As I mentioned, the commercial flights that were canceled before, those tickets were not refundable, or not refundable to use on this special flight. All the flights were canceled. So this special flight had to be arranged based on the guidance, the procedures issued by the CAAT on the Thai side, as well as bearing in mind the Australian restrictions of travelers between states and territories as well. So we also worked with the Australian Embassy in Bangkok because we know that if we organize a chartered flight, the cost would be very high, and this I think would not be affordable for Thais or any passengers. So in discussions with the Australian Embassy in Bangkok, we were able to have also send back the Australians from Thailand to Bangkok in the amount of around almost 200. And we were also able to repatriate 207 Thais on the 26th of April from Sydney, and that was our successful first repatriation flight. At the moment, we're looking at the second opportunity to organize a second flight within this month, and we're working on those details, and it will be likely departing and arriving in Melbourne as the next destination.
Ambassador, how do Thais in general in Australia cope with life under lockdown? And have there been any reports of Thais infection? Infections among Thai people in Australia?
The Thais, of course, have been respecting the guidelines that have been issued by local authorities. We have encouraged them, disseminated information to them of what to do in order to take care of themselves, hygienic procedures, and of course, looking care after themselves. There are about 100,000 Thais in Australia, mostly populated in New South Wales, where you see over 40,000 Thais living there. And then the subsequent states are in Victoria and in Queensland, and of course in the 20-30,000 range. There's also a significant number of Thai students studying here, around 20,000 or so, and we have also been reaching out to them through the Education Counselor's Office in making sure that the students are okay. And the Thais communities, they're here based on various types of visas. Some are tourists, some are on temporary workers on short stay visas, some are students, some are on work holiday visas. So there's this wide range of people. Some have been affected, and we have been reaching out to them through giving out care packages to all Thais all over Australia as a minimum and basic needs requirements. Other than that, we've been keeping in touch with them through the various associations, the honorary consul generals and the consuls general based in the various cities to make sure that they are well and at least safe and healthy. No Thais have been reported to us as being infected, but we continue to give advice and keep a close watch through monitoring and communication means.
And what's the situation in Australia, especially in the past few weeks? Has it been better? Because right now the government seems considering the ease of the restriction. And how is the public sentiment in putting pressure on Australian government to ease the lockdown?
Yes. As I mentioned, the Australian government, both at the federal level and the states and territories level, have worked closely through the National Cabinet. They have issued, I think, effective but stringent measures in keeping containing the spread of the virus. And I think they have been successful because of, you see, during the past few weeks, the growth in infection have risen, but at very, very low rates. You see a minimum, single digits to double digits. Today, the case is only around 6,824 cases, and 96 deaths since the start of the virus spread. There has been 5,817 cases that have been recovered. And of course, the most affected groups have been in the age groups, and of course, in the age in the households there have been also different types of protections. The situation here, because of the anxiousness, I think, of the different parts of society, basically balancing between the containment of the spread, which is vital, I think, to the long-term recovery of any country. And in this, the health, I think, response has been effective. So now the economic response has to be in place. That is why I think there is a degree of anxiousness, people wanting to go out, wanting to resume their lives, normal lives, going to work, having their families, being able to spend their time outside the houses. But a major part of that is also the economy is, of course, a major priority in trying to deal. So the economic stimulus package, which the Australian government has introduced over 214 billion Australian dollars in various sectors, economic stimulus, short-term measures, financial incentives, tax incentives. I think these is coming together, and there are also giveaways of compensation to the workers, and these types of categories of help are being in place. So as I mentioned that is because you do see a degree of anxiousness to get the economic in place, but I don't think any government would want to risk of opening up the economy at the same time at the expense of going back to square one, where you would see a high growth of infection coming back into place. I don't think that is something. So there is a balance of the procedures that they're following. There are about 15 conditions that the National Cabinet is looking at in Australia of wanting to ease these restrictions. One part of it is, a major part of it is also about schools. Opening schools or closing schools has been a major debate here, but they have also exercised restraint in encouraging the students to go to school. But a large part because the caretakers, particular persons on the front line, health experts do need to bring the students to schools. At the same time, this easing of restrictions, you will see an opening up of, I think, step by step of gatherings, certainly not in large numbers, but perhaps at the moment restaurants have been completely closed, only takeaways, deliveries are allowed, and that also constitutes a large part of the economic activity in Australia and the different major parts of the country. So tourism, I think like Thailand, international hospitality has been hit. So that is why I think this is one part where you will see a revival of the activities that will gradually bring the economic activities back to place. But as I mentioned, not at the expense of the spread of the virus.
So how is life for you as diplomat in the past 2 months? I am sure you must have been missing out a lot of face-to-face meetings and social functions, right?
Yes. Well, luckily, during the past, I arrived at the end of February. During the first half of March, I was able to call on senior officials and the diplomatic corps fully for 2 weeks until there was a lockdown. Not allowing for more than 2 persons going outdoors or in meeting places. So it has been done. Meetings, for example, amongst the ASEAN community has been through the WebEx or Zoom means, discussions with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade in Australia and the different communities has been done through either social media applications or through digital technology. Face-to-face meetings, of course, has been reduced significantly, but that should not stop us from continuing our work. And in this part, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade has been very supportive of our work, especially the diplomatic corps, in providing all the details, what is going on at federal level policies, what you need to be aware of in terms of traveling restrictions,
And a major part, they have been very supportive, particularly in the arrangement of this special flight that I mentioned in the repatriated Thais to Thailand. We had to inform them in advance of how many times would be coming from the different states, so as to allow them special permission to be traveling to New South Wales to catch that flight out to Bangkok. So I think work-wise, without the physical, face-to-face connections, discussions, work has been going on as normal as we can. But this is the new normal, and we have to live, we have to adjust and make use of digital technology, I think, for some time to come.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador Busadee Santipitaks, for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you very much, Kun Nathan. Thank you very much, Kun Thepachai. Thank you for having me on your program. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ And that's the latest situation in Australia, how they fight against COVID-19 and how Ambassador is trying to help Thai people who would like to return to Thailand at this very juncture. And we can see how Australia is now coping and adapting themselves with new normal situation. Kun Thepchai.
Yeah, it looks like something we can learn from Australia. It's good news to hear that more and more countries are now trying to return to some semblance of normality. And we hope that these will be well maintained. The basic principles of social distancing will still be there so that we won't face another round of
And during this stage of easing restriction, perhaps we can learn from Australia and New Zealand as well, how they plan to be working together at this very juncture. And Kun Nat, you have this story for us, especially travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand. What is it like?
Okay, the travel bubble refers to both countries trying to open the borders to each other. So that's just only a possibility at the moment. So tomorrow, both New Zealand and Australia will be discussing with each other in terms of how they're going to ease the borders so that Australians and New Zealanders can travel to respective countries. This is actually only an idea, and it will be discussed in the cabinet tomorrow. So both countries have closed their borders since March due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has highly affected their tourism industry. So right now, both countries are considering at opening the borders to each other. So hopefully Australians and New Zealanders can travel between each other without the need to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. So that's in the consideration at the moment.
That's very interesting. But why Australia consider New Zealand, and why does New Zealand consider Australia to have travel bubble? So obviously they are each other's first choice. Why is that?
Because Australia and New Zealand have very strong bilateral relations for so many years, and their relationship is pretty much the closest relationships compared to other countries around the world. So Australians can work and travel in New Zealand without a visa, and that applies the same thing for New Zealanders that can travel and work in Australia without a visa. More than that, both countries also contribute to each other's tourism industry. There's one information that's very interesting. 39.5% of overseas arrivals in New Zealand are Australians. On the other hand, 15.1% of overseas arrivals in Australia are New Zealanders. So we can see that there is an exchange between two countries in terms of tourism. So we can see that they have a very strong relationship, and they actually contributed to each other's tourism industry.
Very interesting the way they are trying to help each other, Kun Thepchai, because right now we cannot refuse that each country are facing with COVID-19, but this is perhaps the first kind of cooperation between neighboring countries.
It's quite obvious that New Zealand and Australia have a very unique relationship, and to demonstrate that in the meeting of the cabinet in Australia tomorrow, as Kun Adnat just mentioned, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand will be joining the cabinet meeting of Australia, of course by video conference, to discuss the proposal. So this is something unprecedented that according to the media report, that the leader of one country joining a cabinet meeting of another. But this is how things work between these two countries. We have been having very close and unique relationship. So this is quite interesting to find out what will transpire after the cabinet meeting tomorrow. But of course, the decision, if it's ever made in that direction, will come as a big boon for the airline industry for the two countries. As we all know, both Air New Zealand of New Zealand and the Qantas airline of Australia have been suffering quite heavily, and New Zealand has reduced its workforce by as much as 95% since the border closure, and the airline has said that as many as 1/3 of its employees could lose their jobs. And equally bad is also is for Qantas Airways, which has put 20,000 workers on leave until the end of May at least. So as the sooner the resumption of the travel between two countries, the better for the two airlines.
That's right. And with the COVID-19 situation, what's happening in both Australia and New Zealand, especially in New Zealand in particular, Kunat?
So for New Zealand, as of today, there are no new infections of COVID-19. So that's pretty much the first time in a month. And for the restrictions, the government has already eased their restrictions since last week. However, the citizens of New Zealand are advised to still do social distancing so that the virus cannot come back to the country. At the same time, the government is now considering to ease more restrictions around next week. So that is definitely a very good sign for New Zealand here.
The travel bubble, Kunata, in short, it means that it's an exclusive arrangement between New Zealand and Australia. We Thais people we don't have any part to play in that. It will be a bubble that would allow all the citizens from the two countries to travel to each other destinations. Yeah.
Yes, but do you think this kind of travel bubble, does it mean that ASEAN countries can help one another quite closely during this COVID-19 situation, because we also have this kind of agreement among ASEAN countries?
Of course, we have to make sure that each of the individual member countries can put its own house in order. That's the first thing they need to do, to demonstrate that they are able to contain the spread of the virus. I think the reason why both New Zealand and Australia are in the position to discuss reopening their airspace is because they're both confident in each other that we can contain the pandemic. So if the same thing happens to ASEAN countries, and there is that possibility, but I'm sure that will be a long way off.
So tomorrow, Kunat, we have something to look forward to from New Zealand and Australia. Perhaps they will have a
Definitely.
new solution tomorrow.
So the travel bubble, we have to see whether it's actually going to happen tomorrow. So this is still in consideration. So we will see whether the cabinet has approved the travel bubble to put in place in the near future. So if the travel bubble is in place, it will definitely help the tourism industry between both countries.
Okay. Thank you very much for the story of travel bubble between New Zealand and Australia, Kunat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kuntepchai, with the easing of restriction, probably for many people, they have rushed to hair barber or hair salon shops in order to have their hair cut. And it's very good story in which some of hairdressers decide to help medical staff who are working frontline, and I'm sure they don't have time to pay much attention to their hair. But right now, hairdresser can help them. So take a look to this story.
During the pandemic, some use medicine to bring relief, but others use a comb and scissors. A hairstylist in Thailand is boosting the morale of frontline medical workers by dispensing free haircuts at hospitals in Bangkok. Pornsupa Hatayong says she was almost embarrassed to offer her service, thinking it was too trivial. But she's been overwhelmed by a huge response it drew from desperate, shaggy-haired doctors, nurses, and ancillary staff wrapped up in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the fourth hospital in Bangkok that has rolled out the red carpet for 43-year-old Pornsupa since she began her free service at the end of March. All of the hospitals are designated treatment centers for COVID-19 patients. Together with a team of others, Pornsupa arrives and quickly sets up her makeshift salon and begins working her way through a long list of hard-pressed medical staff. They average around 50 unkempt heads of hair per day. The 20-year veteran hairdresser takes no chances. The full-on protective clothing she dons is impractical, but doesn't seem to cramp her styling. She douses her equipment with an alcohol-based spray between clients. Normally, a cut would set clients back 500 baht, but there's no financial gain for Pornsupa or others. In fact, she says she is currently living on her savings, but is proud that her skill can make a difference. One of hospital porter hasn't had a haircut in 2 months. He has to shower and wash his hair several times a day after helping COVID patients in and out of wards and down corridors. Now, he says he feels great. For Thirapat Chitpunsuk, a doctor, it's the humanity behind the move that really counts. He says he doesn't feel like this is merely a service he's getting. It feels like more of a kindness given by a group of people to the hospital staff. This is more than just a haircut. Pornsupa says, even then, she may continue to style and groom those on the medical front line on her day off.
It's obviously more than a haircut. Kun Thepchai, it must have boosted up all the spirit and support for medical staff at this very juncture.
Yeah, that's a very hard-lifting story indeed. Yeah.
And with the attempt from government around the world right now, it's like the race to find vaccine or to have vaccine to fight against coronavirus. And the US President Donald Trump just have this promise during his virtual town hall with a news station. He said vaccine probably can be available by the end of this year.
Look, a vaccine has never gone like it's gone now. We're so far ahead of any vaccine ever in history. You know, these things would take 2, 4, 5, 6 years, 10 years. I think we're going to have a vaccine. I'm telling you, by the end of the year, I think we're going to have a vaccine.
You think another country could beat us?
I'm going to really say something that is not like me, and it's not like the two of you. I know you, and it's not like you. I don't care. I just want to get a vaccine that works. I really don't care. If it's another country, I'll take my hat off to them.
But the leading medical expert in the US, Dr. Anthony Fauci, may never wanted to have this kind of promise. Kun Thepchai.
Yeah, that's something that we have to find out whether the president will eventually backtrack on this or not.
Yes. And with how Thailand has been coping with COVID-19 so far, and especially on the media and communication, and how reporters have been covering this very issue. Right now we have Kun Kavi Chongkittavorn, columnist and senior fellow at Chulalongkorn University joining us. สวัสดีค่ะ Good evening คุณกวี
สวัสดีครับ Good evening
สวัสดีคุณกวี Can you hear us คุณกวี
ค่ะ
Yes, yes.
ค่ะคุณกวี can you
Can you
please
move back a little
adjust
bit คุณกวี
yeah
Can you move back a little bit
yes
Okay Can you hear us clearly
Yes.
Okay คุณกวี welcome to the program We understand that normally you spend most of your time on the road mostly overseas I mean attending lectures attending panel discussion, giving lectures, but since the outbreak of the pandemic, we understand that you have been grounded. So how are you coping with your new lifestyle, which I think will become your new normal for some time to come?
Yes, definitely. I'm stuck at home most of the time, so I have a lot of time for doing reading, writing, and of course cooking. And also, one of the things I have done since I was grounded is to watch Thai TV almost every day, several hours. So I saw something new develop in the Thai media, particularly within the broadcaster and the futures of Thai media in the so-called new normal period.
So what do you see in the Thai media that you think are different from the past?
Well, the most important thing is now journalists are faceless because some of them have to put on masks. Some of them disappear altogether. You and I, as a journalist, you know that for many years, every day you face the same group of journalists who were the agenda setter. Now no more agenda setters. It's the coronavirus set the agendas. So everybody will focus on the same topic. How many die? How many infected today? Yesterday, how many were in hospital? So this is a new normal. This is a new situation that Thai journalists have never faced before, including the government. Actually, the government did not know how to deal with this new situation until the Center of COVID-19 administrations were found on about 5 or 6 weeks ago. So you have a proper spokesperson to speak. That allow a sort of a structure of press conference, something new that has never happened in the annals of Thai media. So this is rather amazing, Kun Natha, Kun Thepchai.
Yes. So you think, you see that it's unprecedented for how media work in Thailand. And do you think it's turned out to be good direction, proper direction to be this way in order to cover COVID-19? And
But this is something new.
Kun Kavi, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Can you move back from the camera a bit so we can see you clearly and put the camera down? Okay, that's much better. Thank you very much. So how do you see the way Thai media cope with the situation after having COVID-19 center?
Well, since the COVID-19 started about 3 months ago, the first 1.5 months were very bad because it was focused on the routine politicized issue by politicians. But the past 4 or 5 weeks, I think the coverage was good, were very factual, very scientific, and most of them would like to know what's happening next. And they try to present the news in a way that to provide information for the people to protect and to increase their awareness of the new situation. I think this is very good. It reflects the long time ago. I remember in 1977 when you have a new situation where the Thai media take part in many new developments.
Kun Kavi, I think it's good that the media listen to people with knowledge, with understanding of the situation. I mean, the medical experts, the doctors. But that also means that the agenda on each day for news is being set by these people. And do you think the Thai media has done a good job in asking the right questions instead of just listening to what the spokesman had to say, as you mentioned, how many people have died, how many more people are infected. So my question is whether or not you think the Thai media should have been more sort of more aggressive and ask more probing questions and to get more explanation from the spokesman or the other people responsible.
Sure, definitely. To cover the coronavirus, journalists need a much more comprehensive knowledge of the disease and many other scientific knowledge. So far, Thai journalists have not been equipped with this kind of knowledge. Do you remember when Thailand faced Tom Yum crisis? We had no journalists who were able to write about the hedge fund. You see, this is something new. And I think slowly, in the past 1 week, I think the Thai journalists really asked a very good question. The question like today, there's a lot of questions will focus whether the government testing should be trust or not, because different organizations in the province, in the different district have different views at all. So this creates a situation where government release information must be precise and trustful. So far, I think the government has done a good job so far. And journalists need to ask, of course, probing question, but probing question can only come with the knowledgeable journalists. This is why, for me, it's very refreshing to see no journalists, but some of the intelligence questions that appear on the social media without faceless journalists. So from now on, I think you have to make sure that all the questions are relevant. This day, the focus was on how many infections, how many dies, how many Thai returns to the country. These are the topics, these are the most important questions. And I think it's good to focus on this. But I think journalists must look beyond that, whether these informations, the way the government get it. And I think today onward, the question that the government give will be asked, will be questioned by journalists, because you have a lot of question arising from today, whether it's 40 that infected or whether it's an error sampling. So this type of thing will be a new issue.
And to look for the future, in order to carry on reporting COVID-19 and probably vaccine and all the investigation in the near future, what kind of questions do you like to reckon to the Thai media members?
Well, I think one of the most important thing is comparative questions. A lot of time we view development in Thailand within a narrow, myopic Thai perspective, and we cannot gauge how well, how bad, what was the best thing Thailand have done since the COVID-19, and what was the worst thing. So far, if you see the Thai analysis, it's all the same. They will focus on comment by some of the senior officials. There's no new sort of intelligence assessment from the Thai perspective. For example, very few people write about the role of volunteer health officials, who have been great help that have prevented infections among the people in rural area, especially among the senior citizen, that kind of thing. So we need a comparative perspective. A lot of time we focus too much within Thailand without understanding the dynamic of our own. You can only understand our Thai dynamic when you place whatever happening day to day with Malaysia, with Singapore, with Laos, with Vietnam, with Myanmar. For example, for instance, now Malaysia start to focus on migrant worker. Thailand has been focused on migrant workers since the very first day, because we have millions of them from Myanmar, we have from Cambodia. And our volunteers, health officer, these also, some of them speak Burmese, some of them speak Cambodian, so they were able to communicate, they were able to save lives. So I think this kind of thing, journalists need to pay attention.
And Kun Kavi,
I'm sure you must have followed the media coverage on the pandemic in other ASEAN countries as well. So How do you see the difference in their approaches to the issue and how they report on a daily basis?
Oh, they were quite similar, Kun Thepchai. Why? Because you are looking at the number of the people infected, number of people who have been hospitalized. This kind of information only the government can give you, and most of the government set up a special task force to provide this information. So they follow the same, but few countries that will focus, like in the case of Thailand, during the first 5 or 6 weeks, the focus was on the malfeasance of politicians, the hoardings of mass, but in other countries it did not. For example, in Singapore, they focus on the government's program, what the government has done, and now the second wave, you know, from 900 some from the first wave, now the infectious persons in Singapore has risen up to over 10,000. But the focus still was on the government effort, try to cure, try to so-called to break this infection. Could you imagine if this situation happened in Thailand? What would happen? I'm sure the Thai journalists will have a few days writing about the incredible number increase and the way what happens with the migrant workers.
And Kun Kavi, with the dynamic of geopolitics, especially with the role of China, you must have known clearly how China is very influential in ASEAN. And what do you see from the situation of COVID-19? Will the position of China is even more important, or what will be the shift of China position in ASEAN?
Of course, you must have read a lot of articles pinpoint that China will use this pandemic to increase its influence in ASEAN. I think that is not true, because China relation with ASEAN has always been good. Why ASEAN and China talking about cooperation and very supportive of World Health Organization, the United States instead trying to speak ill of WHO, and worst of all, try to cut the funding estimated $400 million. So whether with pandemic or not, the relations between ASEAN and China have always been good, you know, because they have been working very closely. I hope you remember in 2003, during the SARS pandemic, all ASEAN leaders met with China in Bangkok. If you remember, in April 2003, they could immediately agree on action plan. And this time, only 5 or 6 weeks, ASEAN foreign minister and Chinese foreign minister met in Laos. That happened to be the last time they met face to face, because after that there were about 15 virtual meetings between ASEAN and dialogue partner. So with proximity, with this kind of relation in all kinds of dimension, relation between China and ASEAN will always be better. Certainly, ASEAN also see the role of United States in public health very important as well. So just recently, both ASEAN Foreign Minister and State Secretary Mike Pompeo also held the virtual meeting. They were very well. And actually, these two countries, when they approach ASEAN on public health, they focus on the same thing. For example, we would like to help you provide fundings, research on vaccine, help you to stop the misinformation and fake news. And America will focus on the long-term education on public health. China is like 100 meters runner, always very quick in response to ASEAN demand. For example, after a few days, some of the ASEAN countries request for medical help China immediately dispatched teams and everything so quick.
Khun Kavi, since you mentioned the U.S., as we know that President Trump is doing everything he could to put the blame on China and trying to hold China accountable for the pandemics. So what kind of stand do you think countries in ASEAN should take on this particular issue? Should we stay still or should we join the chorus in holding China responsible? Because we also suffer heavily from the pandemic, which we all know that originated in China.
Well, I think ASEAN has been wise. ASEAN did not choose any sides at all. ASEAN followed WHO observation, follow WHO procedures. So I think it's very wise. That is why ASEAN has been able to engage both China and United States. Actually, both countries have been very generous when they met with ASEAN, as I said. But China has been much more receptive because of proximity. And as you know, leaders of ASEAN and China met several times. They met more frequently, so they know each other.
So in short, we should not play any part in the claim being made by the U.S. against China on this issue, right? Especially the part that the U.S. trying to hold China accountable and probably to pay for what the damage for the casualties that have taken place.
Oh, definitely. I don't think ASEAN's bind President Trump's argument at all. In fact, ASEAN did not mention this at all. When they had a meeting recently, ASEAN did not mention or request America to fund the WHO. You know, ASEAN know what to discuss and what not to discuss.
All right. Khun Kavi, thank you very much for joining Thai PBS World Tonight in English version. But I'd like you to stay on and watching this Irish painter who has been showing his reflection through his art during this COVID-19 situation. And then we'll be back to talk to you in Thai. So stay with us.
The virus has affected all our lives, one way or another. An Irish artist, Richard Holmes, talks about how the lockdown has impacted on his life.
The restrictions here, I think the biggest effect is not being able to travel to see my parents in County Dublin. They live about 200 kilometres from where I live in the west of Ireland. And socially, it's had a big effect on the community here. Irish people love to meet in the pub and have a drink together. And all the pubs are closed, of course, and the cafes. So that would be the biggest effect.
Richard has cancelled the yearly schedule for his solo exhibitions in New York and London due to the pandemic. However, it gives him great time to focus on his painting. Besides, he has plenty of time to enjoy the beauty of nature around his house.
I live in quite a rural environment and there's not many people living around me. I live really in nature, out kind of the mountains are close and the beach and the sea is very close. So I'm able to walk and go to the beach and I'm able to go for a swim. So not too much of my life is curtailed, but I do everything within a 2-kilometre radius of my house.
The COVID-19 crisis has also given him inspiration to create something born out of the situation. The collection includes a number of paintings influenced by the recent social experiences enforced on us by the new coronavirus.
So there's 3 series of work that I've made. One of the series, I started thinking about the natural elements, the fundamental elements of nature. Basically, what I did was I just investigated those ideas of the fundamental parts of nature. And then in the second series, I thought about memory, how memory is affected during this crisis. The memory of our loved ones, the memory of travel, the memory of kind of the textural world, all the color and texture and places that are waiting outside for us to discover. And then the third aspect of the project is about the future. So I'm calling it vision, like a vision towards the future, how we see the future. And I think my idea around that series is that there will be a bright future that we can all look forward to.
Richard thinks that there were a few good things which emerged from the COVID-19 outbreak.
I think there's many positive aspects that can come out of this crisis when we do emerge. It's going to take some time, but I believe, firstly, that governments will think much more clearly about how their healthcare systems work. Because when you have a pandemic like this, it really shows all the weaknesses that might be in a healthcare system. I think there'll be like a back to basics. People will look after the area that they live in more clearly. I also think that there will be a brilliant coming together of minds in the technical world, in tech, in medical, in pharmaceutical, and also in the scientific community. And that hopefully there'll be a breakthrough there, and that all of these components will work together more closely going into the future.
ติดตามไทย PBS World Tonight ในภาคภาษาไทยค่ะเราจะคุยกับคุณกวีจงกิจถาวรผู้สื่อข่าวอิสระและผู้เชี่ยวชาญเรื่องอาเซียนค่ะสวัสดีค่ะคุณกวีคะ
สวัสดีครับ
ครับคุณกวีสวัสดีคุณกวีครับทุกวันนี้สิ่งที่คนพูดกันเยอะมากก็คือว่าโลกของเราเนี่ยจากนี้ไปจะไม่เหมือนเดิมอีกแล้วก็เพราะว่าเจ้าโคโรนาไวรัสนี่แหละโดยเฉพาะเรื่องการสื่อสารการเดินทางเนี่ยคุณกวีเองตอนนี้ก็เผชิญกับการเปลี่ยนแปลงอย่างมากแล้วเพราะว่าปกติเนี่ยคุณกวีต้องเดินทางทุกสัปดาห์นะครับแต่ว่า2 เดือนที่ผ่านมานี่ติดแงกอยู่ที่บ้านไปไหนไม่ได้เลยนะครับการสื่อสารก็ต้องทำผ่านทางออนไลน์อย่างเดียวเนี่ยคุณกวีคิดว่าความเปลี่ยนแปลงที่เกิดขึ้นโดยเฉพาะกับคุณกวีด้วยนะครับเพื่อจะเปรียบเทียบคิดว่ามันจะเป็นความเปลี่ยนแปลงเฉพาะหน้าในช่วงเวลาที่โรคระบาดนี้ยังอาละวาดอยู่ว่าคิดว่ามันจะมีความเปลี่ยนแปลงในระยะยาว
ผมคิดว่าการเปลี่ยนแปลงนี้จะมีผลระยะยาวเพราะว่าการเปลี่ยนแปลงในลักษณะนี้มันไม่ใช่เฉพาะแต่ประเทศใดประเทศหนึ่งมันเป็นการเปลี่ยนแปลงที่มีผลกระทบกระเทือนต่อทุกๆประเทศเลย200 กว่าประเทศแล้วก็สมาชิกขององค์การสหประชาชาติทุกประเทศถูกกระทบกระเทือนไปหมดฉะนั้นสิ่งที่จะดำเนินต่อไปในอนาคตนะครับก็จะเป็นสืบเนื่องจากสิ่งที่เรียกว่าหยุดชะงักทุกรูปแบบทุกมิตินะครับซึ่งจึงต้องใช้เวลาอย่างผมตัวเองตอนนี้ก็ไม่ได้ไปไหนอยู่ที่บ้านนะครับก็ต้องฝึกนิสัยนะครับติดกับบ้านคือออกนอกบ้านไม่ได้เป็นเดือนแล้วนะครับสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยมันเป็นสิ่งที่ไม่เคยทำมาก่อนนะครับเราจำเป็นที่จะต้องหัดให้เป็นนิสัยการเดินออกไปข้างนอกจะต้องไม่ลืมใส่ห้ามลืมใส่หน้ากากหรือว่าอาจจะต้องรักษาระยะทางเวลาเดินเข้าหาคนพูดจาหรือถือของทำนองนี้ผมคิดว่าสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยเป็นสิ่งใหม่แต่ความคิดนะครับหรือวิธีการต่างๆนี้เนี่ยนะครับก็ยังต้องใช้คือปรัชญาชีวิตเหมือนเดิมนะครับจะเปลี่ยนไม่ได้นะครับว่าจะต้องมีความรับผิดชอบจะต้องมีจิตใจเอื้อเฟื้ออารีเพราะสังคมตั้งแต่นี้ต่อไปแล้วนี่นะครับจะต้องอยู่ร่วมด้วยช่วยกันยิ่งมากขึ้นนะครับคนหนึ่งทำเสียเนี่ยอาจจะมีผลกระทบกระเทือนแล้วก็นี่เป็นสิ่งที่กำลังทดสอบคนไทยประเทศไทยและสปิริตของไทยในขณะนี้ครับ
ถ้าจะพูดถึง วงการสื่อโดยเฉพาะคุณกวีนะครับซึ่งก่อนหน้านี้เราก็รู้ว่าก็ถูกเทคโนโลยีทางด้านการสื่อสารเนี่ยปั่นป่วนคือว่า disrupt มากันมากพอสมควรแล้วใช่ไหมครับหนังสือพิมพ์ก็ปิดไปหลายฉบับทีวีก็อยู่ไม่รอดใช่ไหมครับแต่ว่าไปเจอไอ้ศึกโคโรนาไวรัสอีกรอบหนึ่งเข้าไปอย่างนี้นะคุณกวีคิดว่าในแง่ของการเป็นสื่อที่จะมีบทบาทในการรายงานข่าวสารแล้วก็ในเชิงธุรกิจด้วยเนี่ยคิดว่ามันผลกระทบมันน่าจะเป็นยังไง
ผลกระทบแน่นอนเพราะว่าเท่าที่เห็นหนังสือพิมพ์ก็หยุดกิจกรรมไปหลายฉบับเช่นกันแต่สื่อทางด้านออนไลน์นี่นะครับก็ผุดขึ้นมานะครับฉะนั้นในอนาคตนี้นะครับคุณภาพของนักข่าวเนี่ยคนส่วนใหญ่คุณเทพชัยคุณนัทถ่ายคนมักจะบอกว่าแม้จะต้องเก่งเรื่อง IT เทคโนโลยีจะต้องรู้จักพูดออกหลายๆช่องนะครับอันนั้นเป็นเพียงแต่บันไดขั้นแรกเท่านั้นผมคิดว่าตั้งแต่นี้ต่อไปนักข่าวนะครับจะต้องมีความรอบรู้แบบบูรณาการนะครับทั้งทางด้านวิทยาศาสตร์ทั้งทางด้านกฎหมายทั้งทางด้านประวัติศาสตร์ทั้งทางด้านวัฒนธรรมจะเห็นว่าการที่จะรายงานนะครับถ้าจะรายงานเรื่องเกี่ยวกับโควิด -19 นี้นะครับโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งถ้าจะเขียนบทวิเคราะห์ระหว่างสหรัฐกับจีนนี่จะต้องเข้าใจวัฒนธรรมจีนจะต้องเข้าใจวัฒนธรรมนะครับปัจเจกชนของสหรัฐอเมริกาว่าทำไมเนี่ยเตือนออกไปอย่าเดินเข้าใกล้ชิดกันอย่าเดินตากแดดหรือไปชายหาดอย่าลืมใส่หน้ากากไม่มีใครฟังแต่ทำไมคนจีนเนี่ยพอบอกว่าใส่หน้ากากห้ามออกจากบ้านหูฮั่นทุกคนทำตามหรือเวียดนามหรือประเทศไทยก็ตามประเทศไทยนี่ครึ่งกลางๆครับเพราะว่าคนชอบฝ่าฝืนกฎข้อบังคับนะครับฉะนั้นเนี่ยโควิด -19 เนี่ยเป็นบทเรียนบทแรกของอนาคตของสื่อว่าใช้ IT อย่างเดียวไม่พอจะต้องใช้ artificial intelligence เข้ามาช่วยวิเคราะห์ถ้าใช้เป็นจะต้องใช้ cloud data ชุดใหญ่เพื่อที่จะหาบทสรุปนะครับที่มีความเข้าใจอย่างเช่นตอนนี้คนก็เริ่มเขียนแล้วนะครับว่าทำไมไต้หวันทำไมจีนสิงคโปร์จึงมีวิธีการที่ควบคุมนะครับการแพร่ขยายของไวรัสโควิดนะครับต่างจากสหรัฐอเมริกาต่างจากสวีเดนการเขียนถึงสวีเดนนี่เราก็ต้องเข้าใจถึงสวีเดนนะครับระบบการเมืองแล้วก็ความคิดของคนสวีเดนสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยอนาคตนักข่าวจำเป็นที่จะต้องรู้จักถึงแม้ว่าจะไม่เกี่ยวกับโรคระบาดเพราะว่าตอนนี้เนี่ยโลกเนี่ยมีความใกล้ชิดแล้วก็ความเชื่อมโยงเนี่ยมันมีมากขึ้นถ้าไม่มีความเชื่อมโยงมากขึ้นโรคระบาดก็คงไม่ไปเร็วแบบนี้ฉะนั้นความรู้จะต้องบูรณาการทุกมิติครับคุณเทพชัย
เพราะสิ่งที่เกิดขึ้นคุณกวีผมคิดว่ามันเป็นมากกว่าการระบาดของโรคนะมันเป็นเรื่องของการทดสอบเป็นการทำให้เราเห็นถึงสภาพของสังคมแต่สังคมจริงๆว่าคนเขาอยู่ยังไงคิดยังไงมีค่านิยมแบบไหนนะครับเพราะว่าตรงนี้เป็นสิ่งที่คุณกวีพูดก็ถูกนะครับว่าที่อนาคตนักข่าวต้องเรียนรู้สภาพสังคมมากกว่าแค่ปรากฏการณ์กับสิ่งที่แถลงละมันต้องเข้าใจประเทศนั้นๆสังคมนั้นๆประวัติศาสตร์วัฒนธรรมของคนในสังคมนั้นๆเพื่อจะรู้ว่าทำไมเขาถึงมีพฤติกรรมแบบนั้นทำไมก็ถึงออกมาคัดค้านเรื่องการใส่หน้ากากการมีโซเชียลดิสเทนซิ่งเหมือนในอเมริกาที่เกิดขึ้นในหลายรัฐใช่ไหมครับแล้วทำไมบางรัฐบางประเทศถึงได้ยอมทำตามอย่างง่ายๆเลยเพราะมีความเชื่อรัฐบาลหรือว่าเชื่อในสิ่งที่รัฐบาลบอก
ใช่ทีนี้เรื่องที่สำคัญอย่างหนึ่งนะครับก็คือว่านักข่าวสื่อมวลชนเนี่ยยังไม่สามารถสร้างวัฒกรรมที่เป็นของคนไทยเองส่วนมากชอบไปจำที่ปากฝรั่งเอามาเขียนนะครับเราไม่สามารถที่จะเข้าใจตรรกะวิธีคิดวิธีการกระทำของคนไทยอย่างชัดเจนเวลาเราเขียนเนี่ยเราจะต้องเข้าใจสิ่งนี้เราจะต้องมีวัฒกรรมมีหรือที่ภาษาอังกฤษเรียกว่า narrative ของคนไทยเองนะครับอย่างยกตัวอย่างเนี่ยการต่อสู้โรคระบาดโควิด -19 เนี่ยเราสามารถเขียนวัฒกรรมที่เป็นของไทยบทบาทของอสม.ยกตัวอย่างอาสาสมัครทั้งหลายเนี่ยซึ่งประเทศอื่นไม่มีแต่ก็ไม่มีคนเอามาเขียนนะครับแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งความน่าเชื่อถือตอนนี้เนี่ยเป็นเรื่องที่แปลกจริงๆว่าหลังจากที่มีสตป.ใช่ไหมฮะคือเซ็นเตอร์ของโควิดเนี่ย
สบค.ค่ะ
ความน่าเชื่อถือ สปอความน่าเชื่อถือเนี่ยนะครับของโฆษกเนี่ยดร.ทวีสินเนี่ยดีขึ้นมากเลยแน่นอนในอนาคตเนี่ยมันจะไม่เป็นแบบนี้ฉะนั้นความน่าเชื่อถือเนี่ยเป็นสิ่งที่สำคัญนะครับมันจะทำให้นักข่าวเนี่ยเขียนข่าวได้ถูกต้องแล้วก็สร้างวัฒกรรมเนี่ยที่เป็นของคนไทยเองผมจะยกตัวอย่างเนี่ยสถานการณ์ในสิงคโปร์เนี่ยไม่มีใครบอกว่าสิงคโปร์โกหกเลยทั้งที่ตัวเลขตอนนี้เนี่ยจาก998นะครับใน2เดือนแรกเนี่ยตอนนี้กลายเป็นหมื่นไปแล้วนะครับจะไม่มีใครบอกเลยเขาก็จะบอกว่าเขาไม่ได้ตรวจคนที่เป็น migrant worker แต่ถ้าเป็นคนไทยเนี่ยเสร็จแล้วก็จะบอกรัฐบาลเนี่ยพูดจาเนี่ยโกหกไม่จริงใจต้องการบิดบังผมจะยกตัวอย่างอีกตัวอย่างหนึ่งคือประเทศอังกฤษเนี่ยตั้งแต่ต้นไม่ได้บิดบังแต่ไม่เคยบอกความจริงเลยบอกแต่ว่ามีคนติดเสียชีวิตในโรงพยาบาลแต่ลืมไปบอกว่าบ้านพักคนชราที่เสียชีวิตไปเนี่ยมีเยอะเลยอยู่พอนักข่าวถามขึ้นมาไปตามกันขึ้นมาก็ปรากฏว่าเพิ่มขึ้นเป็น2 เท่าแต่ประเด็นเหล่านี้ในประเทศไทยเนี่ยไม่มีนะครับแล้วก็เนื่องจากว่าเรามีหน่วยงานเรามีสิ่งที่เป็นไทยอสมเนี่ยซึ่งสามารถเข้าไปในพื้นที่สามารถเข้าไปรู้จักคนนะครับอย่างยกตัวอย่างเนี่ยนะครับในพื้นที่ที่เป็นจังหวัดซึ่งอยู่ห่างไกลเนี่ยคนเหล่านี้เขารู้จักเห็นหน้าในระดับท้องถิ่นเนี่ยฉะนั้นเนี่ยเขาสามารถที่จะรู้ตัวว่าใครเป็นใครนะครับหลีกไม่ได้นี่คือลักษณะพิเศษของสังคมไทยสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยมันให้เห็นขึ้นฉะนั้นนักข่าวเนี่ยซึ่งเขียนข่าวอยู่ที่ทำเนียบรัฐบาลนี่จะต้องออกไปต่างจังหวัดจะต้องไปรู้จะต้องคุ้นเคยกับท้องถิ่นกับสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยถึงจะเข้าใจมิฉะนั้นน่าจะเป็นคำถามนะครับที่ซ้ำๆ
ค่ะคุณกวีว่าเป็นเพราะอะไรคะทำไมถึงนักข่าวถึงไม่สามารถที่จะนำเสนอสถานการณ์ที่อย่างเข้าอกเข้าใจสถานการณ์โควิด -19 ได้หรือว่าวาทกรรมที่ออกมาเกี่ยวกับประเทศไทยก็ดูเหมือนจะไม่ค่อยมั่นอกมั่นใจเกี่ยวข้องกับลักษณะการให้ข่าวหรือว่าแหล่งข่าวที่ให้กับผู้สื่อข่าวด้วยไหมคะ
นี่น่าสนใจเป็นประเด็นที่ดีครับผมคิดว่ามันมีหลายปัจจัยนะครับผมขอเริ่มปัจจัยแรกก็คือรัฐบาลนะครับรัฐบาลเนี่ยไม่มียุทธศาสตร์ในการสื่อสารกับประชาชนนะครับนักการเมืองไทยเนี่ยนึกอยู่อย่างเดียวว่าเป็นนักการเมืองแล้วต้องพูดเก่งพูดอะไรนี่คนต้องเข้าใจไม่เข้าใจก็พูดต่อไปเรื่อยๆซึ่งเป็นความคิดที่โง่เขลามากตามจริงแล้วคนที่เป็นนักการเมืองเนี่ยจะต้องฝึกพูดฝึกสื่อสารประธานาธิบดีของสหรัฐทุกคนเนี่ยจะต้องผ่านวิธีการพูดการสื่อสารกับประชาชนนะครับถึงแม้ว่าเรื่องที่สื่อสารฝึกมาอย่างดีเนี่ยเวลาสื่อสารกับประชาชนเนี่ยก็ยังมีปัญหาอยู่แม้กระทั่งนะครับทุกวันนี้เนี่ยความน่าเชื่อถือของรัฐบาลแต่เวลาบอกออกมาเนี่ยนะครับเวลาบอกข่าวมาประชาชนก็ยังไม่สนใจอยู่ดีนะครับหมายความว่าไม่เข้าใจนะครับเพราะว่ามุมมองมันเยอะประชาชนมีจำนวนหลาย10 ล้านคนนะครับนี่คือรัฐบาลสิ่งที่เป็นแหล่งข่าวประเด็นที่2เนี่ยคือตัวนักข่าวเองเราต้องยอมรับนะครับว่าขีดความสามารถของนักข่าวเนี่ยมีจำกัดฉะนั้นการเรียกร้องอย่างผมเรียกร้องว่านักข่าวนี่จะต้องมีความรู้เป็นบูรณาการเนี่ยฟังดูแล้วนะครับฟังดูแล้วดีทำอาจจะยากแต่ไม่ได้หมายความว่าจะทำไม่ได้เราจะต้องมีความตระหนักรู้กับปัญหาที่จะมีขึ้นในอนาคตตั้งแต่นี้ต่อไปเนี่ยปัญหาเรื่องเกี่ยวกับสาธารณสุขนะครับความเชื่อมโยงนะครับสิ่งที่จะเกิดขึ้นก็คือความเชื่อมโยงศูนย์กลางนโยบายศูนย์กลางกับนโยบายในภูมิภาคนะครับว่ามันมีส่วนเกี่ยวข้องอย่างไรทำไม9 จังหวัดนะครับไม่มีใครเขียนเลยว่าทำไม9 จังหวัดนี้เนี่ยนะครับจังหวัดเช่นบึงกาฬจังหวัดในประเทศไทยเนี่ยที่ไม่มีคนติดโรคโควิดนี้เพราะอะไรเพราะว่ามีผู้นำระดับท้องถิ่นที่เข้าใจสถานการณ์มีผู้นำระดับจังหวัดที่เก่งกว่านายกรัฐมนตรีหรือยังไงที่รู้ว่าแนวนโยบายการตัดสินเนี่ยควรจะทำยังไงควรจะไม่ให้คนนอกออกคนในเข้าสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยประเด็นเหล่านี้ยังไม่มีการวิเคราะห์ที่ดีฉะนั้นมันจะต้องอาศัยความเข้าใจของระบบสังคมไทยระบบต่างๆที่มีอยู่มิฉะนั้นแล้วเราวิเคราะห์ไม่ถูก นะครับอันนี้ผมคิดว่านั่นประเด็นสองประเด็นที่สามคือประชาชนคนไทยตอนนี้ถ้าคนไทยเนี่ยดูทีวีทุกช่องเนี่ยจะเหมือนกันหมดและตอนนี้นักข่าวที่อ่านนักข่าวทีวีเนี่ยตอนนี้กลายเป็นอะไรครับกลายเป็นคนที่ช่วยแก้ปัญหาให้รัฐบาลเอาคุณมีปัญหาใช่ไหม 5,000 บาทยังไม่ได้คุณโทรหาผมสิผมจัดให้เนี่ยผมรู้จักอธิบดีคนนี้เดี๋ยวผมโทรให้เลยอ่ะเดี๋ยวดีไม่ดีเนี่ยผมออกอากาศอยู่เดี๋ยวโทรให้เลยทีวีก็ถ่ายโฟกัสไปเลยอันนี้จะอ่านข่าวด้วยจะช่วยคนด้วยจะอ่านรายงานข่าวสดโซเชียลมีเดียด้วยเละกันใหญ่เป็นที่ภาษาไทยเรียกว่าเป็นจับฉ่ายกันเลยฉะนั้นมีความจำเป็นที่เราจะต้องให้องค์ความรู้ทั้งของรัฐบาลนักข่าวแล้วก็คนที่บริโภคข่าวตอนนี้คนบริโภคข่าวเนี่ยฉลาดขึ้นแต่ฉลาดขึ้นยังไม่พอที่จะแยกแยะข่าวเพราะตอนนี้ถ้าดูข่าวจากเมืองไทยแล้วเนี่ยจะเห็นว่ามีการปฏิเสธความจริงอยู่เยอะเลยนะครับที่เขาเรียกว่า post truth era นะครับฉะนั้นคนที่เป็นสื่อเนี่ยจำเป็นที่จะต้องหยิบยกประเด็นนี้ขึ้นมาแล้วก็เข้าใจแนวโน้มนี้นะครับอย่างที่ตอนนี้ในช่วงนี้เนี่ยผมสบายใจมากที่เห็นสื่อไทยเนี่ยรายงานข้อเท็จจริงทุกวันเลยในสมัยก่อนนี้นะครับก็รายงานเหมือนกันแต่เป็นรายงานข้อเท็จแล้วก็จริงนะครับฉะนั้นเนี่ยสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยผมคิดว่ามันจะสร้างเอาบริบทใหม่แล้วผมคิดว่าคนไทยก็ดีตอนนี้เริ่มเข้าใจแล้วว่าข้อมูลที่มีประโยชน์ข้อมูลที่มีข้อเท็จจริงจริงที่รัฐบาลมีคนพูดที่มีความน่าเชื่อถือเนี่ยมันทำให้ทำอะไรได้ถูกต้องทำอะไรได้เร็วนะครับและตอนนี้จะเห็นว่าการทำงานเนี่ยไม่ได้เป็นไซโลแล้วตอนนี้เป็นวงออร์เคสตราจริงๆเลยนะครับ
ค่ะคุณกวีถ้าประเมินในภาพรวมนะคะสื่อในอาเซียนหรือว่าคนในอาเซียนก็คงจะเผชิญปัญหาคล้ายๆกันนะคะประเทศอื่นก็กำลังต่อสู้กับโควิด -19 เช่นเดียวกันยังมองเห็นความหวังของกลไกอาเซียนในการทำงานร่วมกันเพื่อที่จะช่วยให้สถานการณ์ในระดับภูมิภาคเนี่ยดีขึ้นไหมคะหรือว่าตอนนี้ต้องเป็นระบบต่างคนต่างอยู่และต้องเอาตัวรอดของตัวเองให้ได้นะคะ
คืออาเซียนเนี่ยต่างคนต่างอยู่ไม่ได้ครับรับรองแยกกันไปตายอาเซียนต้องอยู่รวมกันแต่เวลาอยู่รวมกันเนี่ยความร่วมมือมีหลายระดับนะครับระดับที่เป็นท้องถิ่นระดับที่มีประเทศติดต่อชายแดนกันระดับที่เป็นเจ้าหน้าที่ระดับรัฐบาลนะครับมันมีความแตกต่างแต่สิ่งหนึ่งเนี่ยที่อาเซียนมีและมีความเข้าใจคือสปิริตของอาเซียนว่าเราจำเป็นต้องช่วยเหลือกันนะครับหลายคนอาจจะบ่นว่าในช่วงโรคระบาดเนี่ยไม่เห็นอาเซียนทำอะไรตามจริงแล้วเนี่ยอาเซียนทำเยอะมากอาเซียนให้ความช่วยเหลือซึ่งกันและกันนะครับใน EU นะครับอย่างประเทศสเปนประเทศอิตาลีนะครับฮังการีบ่นอยู่เสมอว่าขอความช่วยเหลือใครก็ไม่ได้ไม่มีใครให้เพราะว่ามัวแต่ช่วยตัวเองนะครับมีแต่ประเทศจีนแต่ในกรณีของอาเซียนนี่นะครับสิ่งแรกที่อาเซียนเนี่ยทำก็คือช่วยตัวเองก่อนในขีดความสามารถของอาเซียนในตอนนี้ในเรื่องโรคระบาดเนี่ยเนื่องจากมีประสบการณ์มาเยอะตั้งแต่ปี 2007 เรื่องเกี่ยวกับ Action Plan ที่เตรียมมาก็ยังอยู่อย่างเช่น Real Time Exchange of Information นะครับก็ทำกันอยู่แล้วทำได้เร็วจึงอธิบายได้ว่าอาเซียนเนี่ยเจอกันก่อน EU เจอกันด้วยซ้ำไปหลังจากที่มีโรคระบาดฉะนั้นเขาเจอกันนะครับโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งเวียดนามนะครับเป็นตัวตั้งตัวตีหลังจากที่รู้ว่ามีคนติดโควิดในประเทศไทยแล้วนะครับก็หลังจากนั้นเพียงไม่ถึง3 อาทิตย์เท่านั้นเองก็มีการพบกันแล้วทางเทเลคอนเฟรนซ์นะครับตั้งแต่นี้ต่อไปเนื่องจากโรคระบาดนี้นะครับมีผลระยะยาวอาเซียนเนี่ยจำเป็นที่จะต้องเพิ่มความเข้มข้นนะครับในเรื่องเกี่ยวกับนโยบายแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งในเรื่องสถาบันนะครับความร่วมมือสถาบันที่เกี่ยวกับสาธารณสุขเนี่ยผมคิดว่าในอาเซียนเนี่ยจะมีความเข้มข้นมากขึ้นและก็ไม่เฉพาะแต่ในอาเซียนเท่านั้นกับคู่เจรจาก็เช่นกันอย่างสหรัฐอเมริกานะครับอย่างประเทศจีนรวมทั้ง EU ด้วยนะครับอันนี้คือมองไปข้างหน้าว่าเรื่องเกี่ยวกับสาธารณสุขเนี่ยจะเป็นประเด็นใหญ่และสำคัญที่อาเซียนจะ มุ่งไปข้างหน้าแล้วรวมอีกประเด็นหนึ่งเนี่ยก็คือว่าทำอย่างไรนะครับที่จะให้ทุกประเทศเนี่ยสามารถผ่านพ้นนะครับวิกฤตนี้ได้ฉะนั้นอาเซียนก็ร่วมมือกันนะครับสัญญาว่าจะต้องให้มีระบบการค้าที่เป็นเสรีเปิดนะครับจะต้องส่งเสริมการลงทุนเพราะนั่นเป็นวิธีเดียวที่จะทำให้คนเนี่ยมีงานทำให้ลูกโซ่การผลิตนะครับทั้งในภูมิภาคและของทั้งโลกเนี่ยกลับมาสู่สภาพเดิมซึ่งอาจจะต้องใช้เวลานานนี่คือสิ่งที่อาเซียนได้สัญญากันไว้ฉะนั้นต้องเราต้องตรวจสอบสื่อมวลชนต้องตรวจสอบผมเนี่ยเฝ้าดูอยู่ทุกวันว่าอาเซียนทำอะไรไปบ้างครับ
ค่ะเอาละค่ะเสียดายว่าวันนี้เวลาของรายการหมดพอดีเลยนะคะคุณกวีคะแต่ว่าก็ได้รับทราบมุมมองการประเมินสถานการณ์ทั้งการทำงานของสื่อไทยการให้ข่าวของแหล่งข่าวการปรับตัวของผู้สื่อข่าวนะคะที่จะต้องมีองค์ความรู้มากขึ้นและกลไกของอาเซียนที่ยิ่งได้เห็นความเป็นน้ำหนึ่งใจเดียวนะคะวันนี้ขอบพระคุณคุณกวีมากค่ะที่มาร่วมรายการไทย PBS World Tonight ค่ะขอบพระคุณค่ะและลากันไปเลยนะคะคุณเทพชัยคะสำหรับไทย PBS World Tonight ค่ะช่วงนี้คุณเทพชัยยองและดิฉันณัฐฐา โกมลนทินสวัสดีค่ะ
In times of crisis,
it's been a nightmare.
What you need is accurate,
COVID-19,
up-to-date, and in-depth information.
This virus will be with us for a long time.
And in this most challenging time, when the whole world is being ravaged by the most frightening pandemic, there is no easier way to stay informed than to stay home.
Hello everyone.
Welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight.
And stay with us. Thai PBS World. We bring Thailand to the world.